Last. All right, common thread. The common thread is going to go through a number of things, but right now what you're going to be seeing is these 5 roots of rebellion, and we always wonder, what is Korah good for? All right, why would we want to study Korah? Everybody knows the story. Some guy rebels. He shouldn't have rebelled. Neither should we, right? And then we're trying to figure out, well, what does it have to do with me? I'm not rebellious. I don't speak evil of anybody. I don't do that sort of thing. There's some roots I'm going to have you look at when you go through this Midrash section when we break up. And I want you to find these roots both in Samuel and in Romans. Here are the 5 roots that I think are involved in the Korah's rebellion, and then I'm going to give you a little proof as to why. Number 1. Jealousy and envy. Raise your hand if you've ever had any problems with that. Okay, all right, so it applies. Regret and discontent. Yeah, oh, if I only would have done this. And if I only would have done that. And why did we leave Egypt anyways? I don't want to be out here in the wilderness. It was better when I was in slavery. I liked bondage a lot. How many of you had to wrestle with anger and bitterness? Never. Huh. Yeah. Why are you in charge and I'm not? And I'm kind of bitter about that. All right? And you pushed all my little buttons. Democracy. The people have to speak it. It's about the people and their choice. Really? How does democracy line up with theocracy? I'm trying to figure out how that works. Okay, so let's take a vote and find out what God thinks, right? It doesn't seem to work that way. It's interesting. And then, of course, there's self-righteousness. I know the answer, you don't, and I'm here to prove you wrong. Right, okay? So when we look at this thing, what does rebellion actually look like in the world? If you were to look at the news, you would think it looks like all those people in Seattle, right? That's true rebellion. I know it's true rebellion. But this is how it starts to happen. Someone starts to talk about somebody that's in charge, or just anybody. It starts small. Word starts to spread. And then pretty soon we start to think about all their errors and all the little things that they've done wrong. And then bias starts to come in. Sides are taken. Trenches are drawn. And then we go to Facebook and we write our opinion. Isn't that amazing? It starts off small. We think we're okay. We share it with somebody and we say words like, "Don't worry, this is just between you and us." I won't tell anybody. Yeah. And then we start to form an opinion about what that person did, right or wrong. And then we go tell somebody about that. Did you hear about David? David wore his hat on backwards the other day. I think he's suffering from a brain aneurysm. Because his hat was on wrong. I need to go tell somebody about that. Yeah. David doesn't know what he's doing anyway, so I'll write it in Facebook and tell the whole world about it. I hate Facebook. I think that thing needs to be taken off the planet. Yeah. This doesn't just happen in politics. It just doesn't happen in churches. It just doesn't happen in small groups. It doesn't happen just in small groups. It even happens with people that we trust and believe in. Hang on the questions till the ends, and I'll bring you up. And just in case you haven't put a face to it, let's put some faces to what this actually looks like. I don't trust you. Ever seen that face? I'm not sure if I trust you. I would like to be in charge. How about this face? I'm wrong and you're right. No, you're wrong and I'm right. So therefore I should be in charge. Notice how babies are always in charge anyways? Yeah, it's interesting. How does the baby get in charge? What about this one? It's mine and I want it. Korah tells Moses this, you've gone far enough, Moses. Why did Korah do that? Why did Korah give this face to Moses? If you remember, many times there's good reasons why we sometimes challenge those people that are in charge. And if you look at what happened before Numbers 16, you'll find the reasons. There was constantly things that were given to Israel that they maybe did not agree with. It was some hard-handed judgments. And it seemed like Moses was the only one getting a direct word from Yahweh. That's what it seemed like. And so many of these people that were in leadership positions, and in the Bible it's called men of renown, men of position, they actually had authority. They came from the firstborn, Reuben, and they also came from Levi. So they're thinking, I have a good right to be in charge. The last thing that was a straw on the camel's back, do you know what it was before Numbers 16? It was the man that walked out in defiance on the Sabbath day and said, Father God, I'm not going to obey you, and I'm going to walk in defiance. You look that particular one up, and he's not just gathering sticks. He's doing it with an attitude. He's doing it with an attitude. I will disobey. I will go against the Most High. And then to top it all off, Moses tells him, you got to wear some silly tassels on the side of your pants. And Reuben and Levi are going, are you kidding us? We're men of renown. So then Korah, you go right through it. I look at the text, you guys. There's no break. Just because the Bible shows a chapter. In Torah, there's no chapters. There's no break. And it goes like this. Korah tells Moses, you've gone far enough. Enough is enough. It's the last straw. So maybe you don't like the decisions made by your boss. Maybe you don't like the decisions made by your spouse. Maybe you don't like the decisions made by your pastor, and you get triggered. And you blow up. And you take it one step further, and out of your mouth comes these words. Why do you exalt yourself over me? I'm just as good as you. We're all holy. Where have you heard that before? That actually comes from one of the 11 pillars in Luciferianism. You will not find in Scripture this idea that everyone's holy in an even basis. Only Yahweh picks those who are holy. Now you will find an even picture of those who are righteous. What does righteous mean? Those who seek after Yahweh. Abraham was not perfect, but he was deemed righteous. Why? Because he went after Yahweh. David was deemed righteous. Why? Because he ran after Yahweh. They were not considered holy. Only Yahweh deems what's holy. And at Korah's rebellion, it's not just about a difference of opinion of who's who and what it is, what's mine and what I want. There's 250 of them, and they're jealous. What are they jealous for? They're jealous for the priesthood, the title, what they can do. Their perception of holiness is a little bit different than Moses' perception. Moses had learned to be holy out of becoming what? Humble. He was in a position of renown, wasn't he? He had been the second in charge of all of Egypt. And then what did Yahweh do to him? You're going to go take care of sheep for 40 years. So when you look at this picture up here, it's mine and I wants it. Be real careful. It just might come your way. This is what we do. We do this siding up thing with people. And we get along beside a person that's looking pretty sad or out of place. Or maybe who's felt that the game wasn't fair. It's unfair. The referee called some things on me. Will you listen to me? And what do? We listen. And then we side with them. And they go, yeah, that wasn't strike 3. That was strike 4. I know, but maybe it really was strike 3. And it wasn't. It did come over the base. It was nice. No, I guess it wasn't. We start siding with the person. When I teach kids out and they're out there showing horses, it's so funny because I love doing this. The kid will come back to me and he says, I should have won first place. Out of all those riders, I was a better rider. And I go, really? Really? Do you want to see the video? They look at the video and they go, yeah, I guess I didn't do that very well. Yeah. You deserved 4th place, not first place. When we start siding up with people, we could be siding up with Korah. Remember, Korah decided to make something known. Moses is not fair. Why is only Moses the one talking to God? And we need to make this more of an even playing field. And he starts bending an ear. Why is someone else in charge? That's the point 2. That's how we side up. And the third one, someone needs to stand up for the underdog. You ever notice that? Now, there's 250 men of renown. All right? And there's thousands of Israelites. But someone needs to stand up for Korah. Someone needs to stand up for Dathan. Someone needs to stand up for Abiram. I hear you. I hear you. Do you see how this goes? It's just kind of interesting. But Moses says this, you have done what? That's the second time. So Korah says it to Moses, and then Moses says it to Korah. So there's more of a difference of opinion. Moses said to him, you have gone far enough. Moses has a point of view. He believes that Yahweh's command should be followed. And he states to him, let Yahweh decide who is holy. You have gone far enough. It's interesting what he says. Would you agree? Yeah. So let's go one more step. What does a good leader do? He reminds the 250 people that they've been given a lot of honor. How are they given a lot of honor? They've been given a place to work within the tabernacle. They're near to the holy service, and they get to minister to the congregations. And Moses says, come on up, we're going to talk about this. What do these guys say? We're not coming up. I'm not going to the church board meeting. The elders are too tough on me over there, and I'm not going to show up. Did you just hear me? Do you see how we do this? Okay, we not want to take any blame. We don't want to talk about anything. And we say out loud, I'm not coming up. I don't want to come up. You might say something that makes me feel guilty. In fact, what did Korah say? You might put our eyes out. Interesting comment. You might put our eyes out. We don't want to come up. So Moses says, well, we're going to have another thing that's going to go on. But what does Yahweh say? Look at that. Move out of the way, Moses. Get out of the way. I'm going to take care of these guys. They're disrespectful. They don't know who's king, and they've forgotten who they worship. Yahweh states this, I am a jealous God, and you shall have no other gods before me. So can we make ourselves into a God, yes or no? Yes, by worshiping our so-called holiness. That's the difference. Again, another Luciferian pillar. When we decide that we are a God, we are moving away from Yahweh God. And we're putting our own holiness before him. Wrong move. So God says, move out of the way, Moses. Something to think about. Now let's look at something here too. I found these really fascinating because Korah eventually does what? He's thrown into a pit. All right? This is a sinkhole that comes, this was in Florida. You can't even see the bottom of it. All right? That's what this is. It's a real live sinkhole. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I mean, this is interesting. Yahweh's always trying to find a reminder. He wants a little bit of respect. All right? Now, remember, when the censers go out, okay, and they're put out there in the midst, he sends down even a fire and he burns them up. Those censers that the 250 took out, what did Yahweh tell them to do with the censers? Hammer them and make them into plates and put them on the altar of sacrifice. Reminder number one. Isn't that amazing? Reminder number one. Put those plates right there. In 1 Samuel, when you read this today, the people all have a democratic solution. They voted to get a king and look like the rest of the world's, correct? A good democratic solution. Who is angry? Yahweh and Samuel. And he even lets them know, as a reminder, a nice little big thunderstorm that comes their way. And in Romans 13, 1-7, we are called to do what? Obey authority. Why? What's the purpose of that? What if I'm right and they're wrong? Remember last week we talked about this. You and I work for the kingdom of Yahweh. That's our first priority. Not to be right or wrong, but to work for the kingdom of Yahweh. Draw people's worship to him rather than drawing worship to ourselves, such as what Korah did. Does that make sense? So Korah is trying to make worship towards him, and look what happens. Follow the leader. Where are you going, Korah? I don't know. I'm going into a pit. Some of those guys decided not to go into the pit with him. Now, there's one more little thing I want you to see because I was just fascinated by this. We have the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant. Pretty important piece of furniture, wouldn't you say? Okay? It describes the essence of Yahweh, who he is. Notice the mercy seat. Notice the angels covering it, and that mercy seat is covering what inside? Let's look what's inside. 3 items. 3 items. Manna, the 10 Commandments, hold on a minute. I want you to see this and just hang on to that for a second. Manna, I will supply you bread. I will give you what you need to eat. I'll take care of both your spiritual and physical needs. 10 Commandments, you follow my ways, you have life. The budded branch. For those of you who don't think that the Korah story is not important, the Korah story is just as important as the 10 Commandments and the bread. I told that to a person the other day. They thought I was talking blasphemy. It's in the Ark of the Covenant. If we weren't told to understand this story, why would it be in the Ark of the Covenant? So we better understand our spirit and who we're worshiping and why, and we better understand our tongue, and we better understand rebellion. Because this is a reminder, it is just as important as the manna and as the 10 Commandments. Otherwise, it would not be there. So this study we're doing today, that you will be doing and talking, is probably one of the most studies you could ever do. Ever. Because Korah divides a congregation. Korah challenges God. Korah sets into motion division, animosity, things that are not good for a body of believers. That's the Korah that we don't want to become. But look at what Yahweh does. Oh, my word. That's shakid. To watch or to wake is the Hebrew meaning of that. An almond tree is one of the first trees that waken up after the wintertime. In Jeremiah 1, read this with me, 11-12. And the word of the Lord came to me saying, Jeremiah, what do you see? And I said, I see an almond branch. Then the Lord said to me, you've seen well, for I am watching over my word to perform it. Who's watching? Yahweh. Is it Moses? No. It's Yahweh. Who's watching? Who's taking care of you? The menorah cups, that's an almond bud. Okay, it's a flower. It's a shape. This is what's so amazing. He takes what's bad and turns it into good. And as David was reading with you the sons of Korah from the Psalms this morning, many of those sons who did not follow Korah turned around, and now they're the sons of Korah giving praise in the Psalms. Why would they give praise? Because they understand the mercy and grace of Yahweh, and they turn from their wicked ways. Are we ready to turn from our wicked ways of gossip, dissension, ill will, bad words on Facebook? I want you to look at this. One last thing, and this is our hope. This is the other picture in Revelation. And he laid hold of the dragon and bound him for 1,000 years and threw him into the abyss. Who else was thrown into the abyss? Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Here's another picture for you. And shut it and sealed it over him so that he should not deceive the nations any longer. Korah spread a message of deception. It sounded good. We're holy just like you. Really? Who's going to claim that title here at the end of the days again? Satan will come up to you as what? An angel of light. Saying to you, follow me. I'm holy. Be careful. But here's the great response. Behold, I am. And he said to me, it is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give to the one who thirsts from the spring of the water of life without cost. He who overcomes shall inherit these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. Oh, my word. That's Revelation. So what can you learn from Korah today? So much. So much. So when you guys go over Samuel, when you go over Romans, and when you start looking at this text of Korah, please apply it to yourself again. Man, we have a lot of work to do so that we actually believe, who's the real king. And it ain't us. It's not us. And it's not all those ill-will words that you sometimes see. Are we good with this?